Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. Yes, we've got a different set again today. My wife is away with work again for a few days this week, and we've come back inside the house again. Little one's in bed. But the last time I kind of looked like I was in some kind of young offenders prison cell, I think, and it was quite echoey. So I've changed it to this is the room which used to be the studio before the studio went outside. So yes, we're indoors. I had a bit more time to try and set something up that wasn't just kind of thrown together at the last minute. So yeah, I think we should be looking a little bit better tonight. So let's have a look in the chat and see which fine he says in his worst Irish accent there. Fine folks we have in tonight. So Super Pumpkin Man, hello buddy, nice to see you in nice and early. Good morning to you. RG, he's got his popcorn at the ready. It's not going to be one of them streams. I don't promote that kind of negativity in this hobby. You should know me by now. If you think that's coming, you've misunderstood what I want to talk about. Clyde Dashin was on the lurk there as well. Blizzard says, hello, how's it goes? It goes well, mate. Thanks very much. Christian Reeves, good evening to you, sir. Thank you for coming and helping to mod the stream. Major Tom, good evening, Ed. How are you? Smudge is in. Hello, Blair. Nice to see you as well. Tasty Brain Drain, saying hey to everyone as well. And Mighty Dice, hello to you as well, mate. We got Camo, good morning to you, Camo. Coffee and Pistachio says evening. Evening to you. Tyrion's in as well. Nice to see you. We got Tyrion there. Double Dip says good evening all. Hope everyone is well. RPD, hi to you as well. Kodos, Colin Mack says evening, gents. Time for a little legacy in the living room. Well, there you go, mate. I've been promoted to the posh room, eh? Alex Berry, good evening, mate. How you doing? Said he's still painting these spires and looking forward to the show. Thanks for tuning in, bud. We've got Alda Bill, good evening to you. Colin Wakeland said he's in, but he's watching on the TV as well. Nice to see you, mate. Yoakum, good evening. Nice to see you in, sir. Lewis Dukes says, they broke him out of the clink this time. Yeah, exactly, mate. I escaped. To be honest, I'm on good behaviour, so I've been moved into the common room, I think it is. Dan Pillow, good evening to you as well. Tyrion says it's Gary Moore. No, I know who it is, Gary. Nice to meet you, mate. Luke Pryor says, Andy sitting comfy tonight. What did I miss? Yeah, just inside the house, mate. Mrs. is away. So, yes, we're just doing it cosy. Sorakis says, hello everybody, nice to be hanging around. Luke says, can we all just congratulate Andy on his fabulous thumbnail for the starter set video? It caught my eye. Sadly, it didn't. It's funny though. Do you know what? I'm starting to kind of realise now, the longer I do this, that a good thumbnail is the difference between a good video and a bad video, but a bit of drama or a aggressive thumbnail is the difference between a really good video and a good video. But I'm not really into the drama stuff, so we'll have to just accept my movie poster once. I think we'll go down that road for a while. So yeah, nice to see everybody in tonight. We're going to be chatting about, later on as the main topic, I'm going to be chatting about not specifically the Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum as they're called now, not necessarily specifically that box, but those pre-release boxes, you know, the ones that come with limited edition codex, which is essentially the same codex but has a different front, bunch of minis together, some data cards, and you get them a bit earlier. They're kind of like an early release thing. There was a bit of chat on Twitter over the weekend. In fact, there was a lot of chat on Twitter over the weekend, but this was one of the things that cropped up, and it was a bit of chat about how these pre-release boxes are a bad thing. That we shouldn't support them, and they're a bad trend that they're kind of starting to lead into. And that was the initial post. I won't say who did the initial post, not because I don't want to credit them, but by the same stretch, I don't want to just send people kind of like going and giving their opinion on it kind of thing. But people did have lots of opinions, both for and against, on that thread. And I thought the conversation was interesting, so I wanted to talk about whether I thought they're a bad thing or not. That's where it is. I'm not talking about the contents of them. I'm not talking about whether the Imperial Guard models are any good. I'm not talking about the price. I'm talking about the concept of these kind of early release boxes. Where are we up to here? Tyrion saying thumbs up all. Yes, a like never goes amiss on the video. Thank you very much. We've got Wayne Caitlin, good evening to you, mate. Jez says hello, Andy, in the Mantic dropship. To be honest, I kind of forgot it was there, to be honest. It was there when I was painting it a while ago, and it's been on the shelf for a little while. So yes, it is just sitting there. Super Punky Man says just in time. Spider Lord says, yo, I like and dislike these boxes. That's kind of why I wanted to just talk about them, because as I always do, I'll kind of talk about the pros and cons and my thought process. It doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean you're wrong. If we don't agree, it just means that I'm sure we've got different opinions on it, and I just wanted to kind of chat about it. Yeah, Spylord saying, what's the flyer in the background? It is a Mantic one, mate. Yeah, it's the dropship for the Marauders. So that's to match my Marauder colours. Where are we up to here? Coffee and Pistachio says, the release schedule for the channel was intense last week. Nice work and some great vids. My intention, mate, is to kind of keep it up, if I'm honest. Like, I mean, I need to kind of, at some point, I need to accept what I, without kind of blowing smoke up my arse, I have to accept what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And I personally, what I enjoy and what I think sometimes I'm better at are those kind of talking head videos, the shorter ones, the ones that don't take me kind of weeks to film because they've got painting and they've got building or their gameplay or any of that kind of stuff. And if I can bank a few of those up, that creates me a bit of space to then do a longer form one and kind of do something with a bit more creativity or takes a bit more time to film or something. And I have a few videos in the bank now. I had a really kind of big push last week when Ronnie came up on Friday. We obviously recorded the video which I put up on Friday night. We also recorded 2 other videos, so I've got 2 more videos that can go up this week. I was at Mantic Games open day at the weekend, and I filmed some stuff while I was there, so I intend to do a video about that. I've been building up some of the new Mantic the Ogres, so I intend to do a video about that. And it was really about just kind of getting the creativity flowing again. I'd been on a bit of a downward spiral, a bit of just like second guessing myself and like kind of, oh, that's not a very good idea. I won't make a video about that. And before you know it, you kind of get out of that creative headspace. So what I thought I'd do, I'd try something completely different and just throw myself headlong into it. No matter whether I thought it was a good or a bad idea, the video gets made kind of thing. And that's what I'm trying to kind of do. So yeah, the idea is I will just make more content. Not everyone's going to be a hit. Not everyone will watch everyone, but it'll also help me just to kind of to get creative again and keep going. Let's have a little look up here as well. Jez is saying, yeah, the Ronnie Renton one was excellent, and the starter spotting video, yeah. Pete Kuman, hello to you as well, mate. Luke says, are they limited in release, or can as many people buy them as once do? It is limited numbers, mate. They're a pre-release. They're kind of seen as like an early window release kind of thing. He says, if it's limited numbers, I think it's crap. But if it's a good starting deal, then have at it for the most part. I kind of got 2 sorts of thoughts on that, mate. I don't completely agree with you, but I'll tell you why later on anyway. Kodos was saying was never a fan of early access in video games, so neither am I for this tabletop. Yeah, we'll come on to that. Camo says, any comments on the Spiky Bits drama? And Luke saying, what was the Spiky Bits drama? And Kodos is kind of basically doing it. For those that didn't see it, and I'm not really one for the drama of stuff like that, really, but to kind of round it up, Spiky Bits made a blog post or a vlog post, a blog post, or on their website, which basically said that a certain content creator, and I forget the guy's name, Juan somebody, begins with an H, he's a painter, he made up the thing about the contrast, not the contrast paints, the army painter speed paints reactivating, saying that basically he created a drama about it and that it wasn't really a problem, and that also whilst he was creating this video about the paints, saying that they weren't very good, he was also working for Vallejo at the time, and so it was a conflict of interest. and essentially the internet went nuts, because basically he wasn't even the first person to say that the army painter speed paints reacted or like reactivated, shall we say, and other people had said that they had the same issue as well. So it all got a bit nasty for a while. Most of the community ganged up on Spiky Bits, gave them loads of kind of hate, supported one, and it all kind of went backwards and forwards. I think, to be honest, my gut feeling of it is Spiky Bits basically went all in and did a bit of a hit piece for what appears to be like no particular reason. There was an element of truth in what they were saying, in terms of whilst when he did review the speed paints, he was working for Vallejo and didn't really kind of sort of announce that, if you like. It didn't really sort of make that clear that there might be a bit of conflict of interest. But I think the story is we don't need drama like that. Like in our hobby, we're supposed to be here just to kind of have fun and paint minis and roll dice and talk about games. We shouldn't be here trying to take each other down. Do I think he should have disclosed the kind of fact that there was a conflict? Yes, I do. Is it really kind of the end of the world? His review of the speed paints was pretty balanced. He said he liked them, but he didn't like the right reactivation bits. He wasn't exactly kind of like sort of talking about anything that wasn't true. So in the grand scheme of things, I think it was a bit of a non-event, but it really blew up over the back end of last week. Let's have a look. Tyrion said, I reckon any kind of starter set is going to be 90% good value. Don't buy it if you don't fancy it. Yeah, there's an element of that, mate, but then I think any product can be good value to somebody, kind of thing. It doesn't matter how expensive it is or how cheap it is. Things can be cheap and still be really bad value because the quality's not very good, I suppose. Wayne said, I don't think of them as early release. Time scale doesn't come into it for me. I just think they're decent value boxes with collectible stuff, which is fantastic if you're a collector. The reason I say that they're an early release, mate, is because it's the only place where you can buy those miniatures and that codex at that particular time. They do come out later on, like within a month or two. However, they're almost like a think about the like the Indomitors boxes for like 40k for, was it 9th edition? They were basically aimed at like collectors and hobbyists who wanted that early release of the new models and 9th edition. And then a few months later came the starter sets, if you like. That's kind of like similar to this, apart from those Indomitors boxes. They seem to have a lot of them. They were meant to be kind of limited, but I think they just made more than ever sold. If that was the difference, I think. Yeah. Oh, that's it. Juan Hidalgo, that was his name. Somebody just mentioned that there as well. Let me just scroll back a little bit here. Kodos is saying, if you want the codex before Christmas, buy the box. Otherwise, wait till next year. This is very much early access. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying, mate. Spiderlord says, Ronnie's always a laugh, even when he was our boss at GW. I forgot you'd been there at the same time as him, mate. Colin says, not a fan of the pre-release boxes. They seem kind of shaded to me and predatory. Do you know what it is? I'm not going to talk about them in a moment because that's my main kind of topic thing, and I'll give you all of my thoughts and things about them then, because otherwise I'll just end up repeating myself all night. Double Dip says, enjoyed your chat with Ronnie from Mantic, really piqued my interest in their upcoming stuff. I'll be completely honest, I've been through a bit of a kind of a Debbie Downer, is maybe the right word. I've been, I should just say as well, thank you very much for the super chat there. I think it was Coffee and Pistachio there. It hasn't I haven't got to it in my chat list yet. There it is. It says, can't wait to see what's coming onto the channel. Well, I'll tell you as we go what's coming, mate. It's not a big secret. Some of it might be, but I will kind of make sure everybody knows what's coming and stuff like that, just to give you an idea. Yes, I was having a bit of a kind of a downer moment, just hobby stuff in general. I think I mentioned it in the Patreon podcast, that essentially I'm really, really fortunate, and it doesn't kind of pass me by that I'm in a very, very fortunate position to be able to do this for my full-time job, and with that comes some product that gets sent to me that I don't ask for it. Sometimes I don't even know it's coming. It just turns up in the post. And different companies send me new bits and pieces. I've had some fantastic relationships with different companies over the years, and some of them basically just kind of just send some stuff out every now and again if they've got like a new release or something like that. And I've been really fortunate to that, like, there was a chunk of new stuff come. Unfortunately, a chunk of that new stuff wasn't stuff I probably would have spent my own money on. Some of it wasn't very good quality. Some of it was really badly packed and had bits missing and was actually unusable. And that, on top of the fact that I was having a bit of a downer, kind of just like, I was like, well, you know, there's nothing interesting happening. There's nothing exciting happening, kind of thing. And I've kind of worked alongside Mantic quite closely in the past, like for a few years now. And we got to a point where they would let me know what was coming up. I could kind of decide if it was something I was interested in, and I would maybe they would give me some early release stuff, and I'd get to sort of talk about them in videos and things. And with Rob leaving Mantic a little while ago, that kind of broke down a little bit. So we had a kind of a relationship where we would just send each other messages and stuff like that, anything new happening kind of thing, or there's something coming up back end of the year. You might be interested in it, kind of thing. So it was always nice to know the kind of the new stuff that's coming. And I think I'd gone through a period of time where I wasn't really enjoying the hobby. I wasn't really looking forward to anything, and the stuff I was getting my hands on was stuff I wasn't interested in, or was actually pretty poor quality. Sitting chatting with Ronnie on Friday, he basically spilled his guts to the point where he pretty much laid out like the next 12 months of what Mantic's doing. And I obviously can't talk about 95% of what he told me, but a lot of what he told me are in the 3 videos, the one that released on Friday and 2 of them that will release this week as well. But there's big chunks that he's shared with me that I can't talk about until the time comes, kind of thing. And that kind of stuff has got me excited again. So it was nice to kind of to chat hobby, to chat tabletop, find out some stuff that's coming out, see if there's any stuff that's kind of get me excited, getting the juices flowing. I went to Mantic HQ for the open day at the weekend. It was just nice to see people smiling and rolling dice and having fun and getting back together again. I sat and had a good chat with the painter. I forget the guy's name now; it's escaped my head. But they have like a painting company who paints a lot of the Mantic miniatures, and the painter was there, and I sat and had a good chat with him. Luigi was there at Mantic as well, who's their sculptor, and I sat and had a good chat with him as well. I got to play the super secret new board game that they had there. I had to sign an NDA about that one as well. So it was really nice. I felt like kind of it was a bit of rejuvenation, I think, and then combine that with last week getting back on top of the videos again, just like getting the camera out, recording, editing. Like, I think it's just kind of, it's pulled me out of my slump a little bit at the minute. So it's kind of nice. I went through it and I feel like I'm coming out the other side now, which will only be good for the content, because if I'm excited about stuff, then I obviously that gives me more stuff to talk about and more stuff to make videos about. Let's have a little look down here as well. Yeah, Greg Cherry saying it was a clickbait hit piece. It's kind of weird because there's plenty of people like just who do drama videos to get clicks. And to be fair, there's a few people who've done videos about the drama which have gone on to do very, very well numbers wise as well. And that's not really my kind of style. That's not really what I'm interested in. I'd much rather talk about the hobby rather than talk about people arguing with each other, if you like. But yeah, that kind of the piece was a weird one because there would have been better ways to frame it, but it certainly had its effect in terms of like getting views and getting people to read it. I'm not sure it did their reputation any good, to be fair. Yeah, Ed's saying there, so I imagined the reactivation when it happened to my Stormcast. Nice to know Spiky Bits are still not worth my time. One of the problems was, and this is what Spiky Bits said in their thing, was essentially if you follow the instructions, you don't get reactivation. And technically that is true, because if you follow the instructions, it tells you to put the speed paint on and then just leave it to dry. Don't do anything else. Don't paint over the top of it. Don't go anywhere near it with a wet brush. just leave it and let it dry, and you're done basically. Where the way I've painted with contrast paints is I've put a contrast paint on as like a base colour, and then I've gone in and I've kind of dry brushed over the top, I've highlighted it, I've put other paints over the top. So that's how I've used contrast paints. Had I had speed paints, I would have probably painted the same way and had all of these reactivation issues. So yes, technically, if you follow the instructions, you won't get any reactivation. However, you also have to paint a certain way, which is essentially paint with the speed paints and then don't put any more paint on it. Yeah, Luke says it sounds like it was a classic storm in a teacup. The problem was, mate, it was a really nasty hit piece, which was terrible. But then it was the community reaction, and I talk about like the wider kind of tabletop or wargaming community, or the painting community, if you like, really went all in on Spiky bits. And whilst some of it was deserved, I'm never a fan of people, especially online and stuff like that, and people with a big audience kind of like, if you've got a big audience, like I would suggest you should use that for good, not to kind of rally up the troops to then go and pile onto somebody else. No matter how, like, if they've done something bad, they've done something bad. Like, their reputation's been tarnished. Just piling on top of them after that kind of thing never feels like a good thing from my perspective. Maybe I'm just a bit old and a bit long in the tooth, but yeah, maybe that's what the kids do these days. Ace of Spades Rob says, I heard the mighty dice sticks he's often fought sixes. If he does, he can roll my dice. That would be good. Let's have a little look here as well. Yeah, Luke said it's amazing the hill some people choose to die on. You're not wrong, mate. Andrew Fairbanks, good afternoon, mate. He said he watched his team win their football game on a 2-point conversion. We're having a nightmare, mate. I tell you what, we're going to have a really poor season this year. Alex says, really like your starter set video. I'm totally addicted to starter sets. I'm glad it's not me, mate. I'm sorry, I'm glad it's not only me, I should say. Where was that one? Major Tom says, Indomitus boxes were made to order after the initial batch. I think there was still plenty of kicking about though as well, mate. I don't think there was ever really like a shortage, shall we say, even though the idea was once they're gone kind of thing as well. Chorus is saying, be ready for the drama that AM is not allowed for tournaments in Germany. AM Astra Militarum. Actually, I'll come on to this a bit later, but I think GW have actually said recently that whilst it's like kind of in that pre-release mode, if you like, which is what they've called it, that early release mode, I don't think they're relevant, that like they're not to be used in like matched player kind of thing. Actually, I think that's something they've said recently. Luke says, yeah, really miss working with Rob. He was a pleasure to work with. Yeah, really, really nice guy. We kind of just, we're just like friendly as well, really, like outside of kind of that other stuff as well, like the work side of things. But just a nice guy to chat to now and again. We'd like, not like we kind of like went out drinking and stuff like that, but like he'd ask me about other games, or like I think when I was playing like Marvel and stuff, he was asking me about like there's a few of the Mantic stuff of playing Marvel at the minute as well. Like, what do you think of it and that kind of stuff. Let's have a little look here. I'll just skip down a bit. Yeah, Ed's sitting there as well. I came back 24 hours later. The speed paint still reactivated. Should I have waited 48 hours? Apparently so, mate, actually. I think it did say something about waiting a couple of days, if I'm honest. RPD says, didn't we have a new Dead Zone 2-player starter set? Didn't we have... Ronnie did say in the video that he made with me last week that there's a new Dead Zone 2-player starter set coming, which will have different factions in it. It's essentially, it doesn't like sort of devalue the old starter set. It's just it's a 2-player starter set for people that don't want the 2 factions that's in the current starter set. Really, a little bit like kind of they've been doing with some of their 2-player Kings of War starter sets. Let's have a look. Louis Duke says, got a chance to see the new Ogre kit this morning on Tabletop's channel. Mantic's doing some awesome work. Any idea with those new processes will make their way down to Firefight and Dead Zone? Essentially, mate, I think anything that goes to plastic production now is going to the new factory to make them. So I was having a chat with Luigi, who's their sculptor, at the open day, and he was absolutely kind of like made up about it. He's been sculpting, like, he's almost been sculpting quality that the Chinese factories weren't able to replicate, and for him that's kind of like it almost feels like his works, like it's not reflective of the effort he's kind of put into it, if you like. And he says that these Ogre ones, like, are really, it's nice to see the effort that he puts in being replicated in the quality of the final model, if you like. And he showed me some like kind of fine details and stuff on the sprues of stuff he was really proud of, like putting like textures, like kind of like sort of hammered metal textures into some of the shields and things like that. They really are fantastic. I must admit, when they sent me out a couple of sprues, because the Ogre sprue comes for the warriors, there's 3 ogres on a sprue. One sprue is male ogres and one sprue is female ogres, and they sent me the two sprues out. And when I kind of I just kind of opened the post, had a look inside, and it was like, oh, like, it's hard. Like, what do you do with a couple of sprues? How do you make a video about that kind of thing? I didn't really look at them in any detail. I just saw what they were, and I was thinking, like, how do I make an interesting video that anybody will watch? That, like, I don't want to do an unboxing video. No disrespect to the guys on Tabletop, but just showing the sprues off, like, it's not my kind of content, let's say. However, when I got to see the quality of them, I understand why they're different, and I also got to speak to Luigi the sculptor. I think there's a lot of information there that I can pull together into an interesting and quite informative video about them and stuff like that. So I think it's worth making something now, which is cool. John Estel, good evening, buddy. How are you doing? Said it's been a long day. Time for a cider. I'm on the Coke Zero tonight, mate. It is in a Guinness glass, but I promise you, it's not a really bad Guinness. It is just some Coke Zero. Let's have a look where we're here. Mighty Dices think the big tournaments have said no forces will be allowed until after the first errata. Yeah, exactly, mate. And I think GW have said something since the Votan thing about that. Essentially, those kind of early release boxes are not really sort of designed to be like sort of thrown into matched play, because at that point, the range isn't out yet. If you buy one of these early release boxes, you get a limited amount of the models that are in that range. I think if you've seen recently, the Leagues of Votan went up for pre-order, was it last weekend, and they might have maybe went up for sale, or they might have went up the weekend before and they went up for sale on Saturday, or they might be going on sale this Saturday coming. But there's a lot more stuff in the range that obviously weren't in those early release boxes. Luke's saying, yeah, it's cool that they're going to do new starter sets like they do with Kings of War. Yeah, as Ronnie said in my video, he said Dead Zone sells really, really well, but it seems to sell in different channels, different markets to things like Kings of War. He says they do a lot of sales like through Amazon and stuff like that. So he said, I don't know why it sells differently, but it sells well, and I think it's almost madness to not do it, if you like. So Colin says, I had GW null oil reactivate using Vallejo's brush on varnish after a week. I think sometimes varnish can be funny if it hasn't set properly. Luke says, you have me interested in Kings of War again. I keep getting tempted by it, and the Ronnie interview piqued my interest, especially the ogres. I'll be honest, the chat I had with Ronnie, both on the video and off camera, about Kings of War, the ambush stuff, I think it's something I could really kind of get behind, the ambush stuff. Low model points, lower player sort of points, lower model count, less units, smaller table size, quick games. Like you can play a game in less than an hour, like up to about 1,000 points in less than an hour, which I think is fantastic. And we're talking on a, did we say 4x4 or 3x3 table size, which I think is great for like a game like that. Tony Howell, good evening, mate. How are you doing, sir? How are things? Oh, that's just jumped very quickly down there. Lewis Jukes is, or is it Lewis or Louis? I apologise if I get it wrong there. Says you can see that in the sprues, even on bad bitrate YouTube. Like I said, amazing, yeah. Jess says, I'm guessing Mantic's new plastic factory is Archon Studios. I got one of their Dragons and Townsfolk sets and they're nice quality. I don't know if it's my place to kind of say who they are, but they are made in Poland, shall we say. It's on the sprues, so I'm not giving anything away there. John says, if I had a Coke Zero this late, I'd be awake until Thursday. It never really seems to affect me that much, mate. I don't know why. George, good evening, mate. How are you doing? Zingbo, hello to you as well. Loot Pigeon says, hey, how are you doing, Loot Pigeon? Peter Cooman says, I haven't bought anything but the big Kill Team boxes in the last year, to be fair. I just don't have time for big forces right now. I think it's a good way to kind of just, know your hobby kind of thing. Hobby your way. Do what makes it kind of fun for you, really. Camo saying it's 7:30 a.m. at the minute. Nice and early, mate. Christian sharing the link there as well for the Patreon. Thank you very much. Hopefully last week should at least kind of show you what I'm trying to achieve and things like that. Like, basically, what I've got this week coming up, I've obviously got tonight's video. I've got the Tuesday video is generally the clips video from tonight. So once I've kind of recorded the main topic type stuff, tomorrow I then basically take that recorded part, edit it, put some images in, tidy up a little bit, play with the sound, a little bit of color correction, that kind of stuff, edit that, make a nice thumbnail, put that up for Tuesday night. Tomorrow's plan is to edit one of the Mantic videos that I recorded from last week. That will hopefully be Wednesday's video. I was planning on doing a hobby hangout this week, but my wife is away on Wednesday night again, so unfortunately all my painting stuff is in the garage. I haven't really got the sort of like the space here to like set it up indoors. So this Wednesday won't be a hobby hangout, but it should be one of the Mantic videos that I recorded. Thursday's video could quite possibly be the Mantic Open Day video that I did. So it's going to be a little bit Mantic heavy at the minute, but just because that's what's kind of on my table at the minute. And then I will also be editing the other video that I recorded with Ronnie, the third video, which is a Firefight video. Originally I recorded it, I was going to record it as a podcast, and it was going to go up as part of the Firefight Slow Go campaign, the podcast, the monthly podcast thing. However, because we sat and did it on camera, I might as well put it up as a YouTube video. So then I've still got other stuff in the bag that I want to film and things. And the idea is I'll probably have all going to plan, or all being well, there'll be 5 videos this week, and I'll still have stuff like getting ready for the week after. So the plan is just to keep plowing through. It sometimes doesn't really help the channel because people, like if I put a video up tonight and then don't do anything for a week, anybody that comes to my channel watches the video that went up on Monday, so that video generally gets a few more views. If I put a video up every day of the week and somebody comes in on Friday, very rarely will they go back and watch five videos kind of thing. So it doesn't always do the channel good, but it's more for my mental health, it's more for my creativity and stuff like that, and I'm enjoying it. But yes, getting back to the point, if you'd like to support the channel, if you'd like to support the fact that I'm not always doing GW stuff, I'm covering all of the stuff that the other companies make as well, it is really it's really appreciated. Where are we at here? That one shot ahead a bit there. Wayne says, tell you what I enjoy more these days, the gateway games and the bookshelf games. I'm playing loads of Underworld at the minute with my kids, and I've managed to get a copy of the excellent Crypt Hunters. I actually picked up the latest Underworld's box. I've been painting the skeletons, I've built the other ones, but I've not managed to have a game of it yet. We play those more than 40k at AOS. RPD says, can you pick which armies you want in a 2-player starter set with the rulebook in the future? How does that work? No, that's not what they're doing, mate. You know how GW do those kind of like those box releases every now and a while, a bit like the Tooth and Claw box where they'll have like Space Wolves and something else in. Then they're not starter sets so much, but they're like 2 armies in a box, and then maybe like 6 months later they might do another one with 2 different armies in. What Mantic have been doing for Kings of War is they've basically been doing 2-player starter sets with the rulebook in, and like the first one might have had, I think it had Northern Alliance and Night Stalkers in it, which was their first 2-player starter set, like the decent ones, if you like, from 3rd edition. And then they did another one which had Ratkin and... was it Goblins in it? It might have been. I think they've done one recently, which was Storming the Shires, which might have been Halflings and Riftforged Orcs. And then the new one that they're doing has got Ogres and Empire of Dust in it. They're starting to do that kind of thing with Dead Zone as well. Clyde says it was out of the park this last week for videos. Well, I've been enjoying it, mate. So they might not all be, like I say, they're not all going to be bangers. They're not all going to be big hits. But sometimes it's more a case of complete something and then move on and get on to the next thing rather than worrying about whether something does well or not. Luke Pigeon says the video on Mantic did also pique my interest on Kings of War. Half tempted to get the new starter box to see what's going on with it. So yeah, if you missed it in the video or maybe it wasn't clear or maybe you haven't seen it yet, there is a new starter set coming for Kings of War, which, as I mentioned there before, is the Ogres and the Empire of Dust. You can pre-order it now. It has the new 3.5 rulebook in it, and I think it ships on the 21st of November. And then in January, they are going to start releasing ambush army boxes. So ambush, for those that don't know, is like a low points version of Kings of War. Kings of War, you normally run about 2,000 points, 2,500 points. Ambush is for games of 1,000 points and below, and a game really can be 500 points. So what they're doing is they're releasing 6 different armies in a box, six different boxes. Each one has got like an ambush points army in it, so you can buy that army in a box, build it, get it on a table and get playing ambush at that lower point level. And then if you want to kind of grow your army to the bigger sizes for the full scale Kings of War, you can do. And Ronnie said in the video they're going to be around kind of like £30-40 type prices, so they're really going to be accessible, which I thought was fantastic. So I'm at the minute I'm thinking that once I get all this Firefight stuff out of the way at the end of this slow grow campaign, we might potentially run like an ambush campaign kind of thing, like a slow grow one in the new year. So yeah. Super Pumpkin Man says, I'm just glad I all but completed my Tyranid army years ago, and I've only just picked up bits and pieces, and his Gene Stealer cult was finished in one go, so he doesn't spend much on 40k. Yeah, I bet there's some other people wishes they didn't as well. Warcry, on the other hand, is where he spends his money. Yeah, and very rarely to win as well. Skulldoggery, good evening. This is painting some Space Pirate Dwarves this week. Nice one, mate. Carl, good evening to you as well. This is really... What was that one? I just missed that there. Just jumped. Really looking forward to more Warpath Universe videos. Yes, well, hopefully we'll get some more in soon as well. Colin says, do you play any Mantic games, Pumpkin Man? I don't know. Do you, my friend? Let's have a little look here as well. Spider Lord says, I just don't see me getting a new 40k army, to be honest, though I did pick up Heresy. Clyde Dashing, thank you very, very much for the super chat there, mate. Hugely appreciated. You little legend. I literally had an idea today, and tell me if this is stupid, folks, right? Tell me if I'm just being a bit of a dick here. But I was watching a YouTube video, which was, if anybody's seen it, it's called The Fozcast. And it is Ben Foster, who was a goalkeeper in the Premier League, basically interviewing other sports people and like other like sort of football related people. And he was interviewing Sean Dyche, who used to be the manager of Burnley. I promise you, this is getting back to wargaming, right? And basically what used to happen was Sean Dyche in their sort of in their training rooms had a big wheel that he would spin. So if anybody got fined for anything, if anybody did something they weren't supposed to do, something relatively minor, like leaving dirty boots on the floor, like not tidying up after themselves, leaving cups on the table, late for training, having their mobile phone on when there's like a meeting, that kind of stuff. Instead of just a traditional fine that they used to fine people, like in football teams, he had this big wheel that they would spin, and on the wheel were things like kind of like, you know, like performing a song in front of like the other players, more like kind of public embarrassment type stuff to try and, because players have plenty of money, the fines don't mean anything to them. It was more that kind of public embarrassment thing. Anyway, getting back to the point, I thought I'd quite happily have a wheel that I would spin if somebody kind of like sort of pledges a certain amount on a super chat. I'll spin the wheel or something like that, and we'll see what kind of stupid things we can put on the wheel. We could have stuff on there about maybe like painting a mini a certain color or something like that. We might have stupid stuff like take a shot. Who knows? I'm sure you could come up with some. The Wheel of Punishment, they are Super Punky Man's just christened it there. I'm sure we could come up with some good ideas. But I thought, a little bit of fun on a Monday Night Live. That, they have those kind of things on there, on Twitch and stuff, don't they? I just thought it might be a nice idea. So you can now tell me in the chat whether it's a stupid idea. Tizzy Brain Drain says, no hobby hangout this Wednesday actually works out well for him, as he'll be in Dallas and wouldn't be able to watch it live. Yeah, I was planning on doing one this week. I enjoyed doing one a couple of weeks ago, and I was thinking of doing them every second week kind of thing. But yeah, my wife's away tonight. She gets back tomorrow. She goes away again Wednesday. She comes back Thursday. So yeah, it doesn't really work out this week, but that's not to say that we won't have hobby hangouts in the near future. Where are we up to? John Ashley Smith, good evening, mate. How are you doing? He's checking in from South Ontario. What's the deal? I haven't seen the boxes yet. I'll come onto the box in a bit, mate. Are we talking about the Imperial Guard ones? Are we talking about the ambush ones, the Kings of War ones? I'm not sure. Luke Pryor says, how much is a Kings of War starter set? You know what, mate? I'm not entirely certain, if I'm honest. I think off the top of my head, I'll tell you what. Let's have a look. I will tell you. I will go and Google it, and I'll tell you how much they are, because I can't remember. Let's have a look. I'll be honest. I'm not a huge fan of Mantic's new website. When it's small mode on my screen, things don't size down. £85, mate, is the price of a a starter set. Let me show you. I don't know whether they've got. I'm sure it's. I don't know why it's not there for pre-order. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go to here. It's also all pushed over to one side of the screen. Let me just. So for example, they've got the Shadows in the North 2-player starter set. This is the one that had the Northern Alliance and the Night Stalkers in. You do get quite a bit of stuff in there, although there you go, you can see what you get inside it. So you get like two kind of like sort of starter armies. That's it there, and it's £85. But then of course, if you look online, there's discounts as well. That's full RRP. So that's what you're looking at, mate, for those army boxes. Coffee and Pistachio says, yeah, really like the sound of Ambush. Yeah, Ronnie left me the 3.5 rulebook because he brought home with him when he was here on Friday, and then just said, oh, have you got this? You might as well just have it, kind of thing. And that's the first chance I've had to read the Ambush rules. So it was quite interesting, actually, just to see what's in there. Jess is saying, yeah, cool, finally getting to Kings of War with that Ambush release. I think it's going to be one of those things where anybody that's maybe on the fence or has not really wanted to start like a really big army or can't commit to painting that many models or wants to dip their toe in, I think it's going to bring a lot of folks in, I think. Let's have a little look here. Tony says £1 million. Oh, hang on, I'm not Dr. Evil. No idea how much a 2-player starter set is. John saying, I'm definitely going to pick up a few of those ambush boxes. Just a shame I've got a few of those armies already. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's completely sort of. He basically did tell me which ones he thought there were, but he couldn't remember what they'd agreed on. But essentially, from what he said, it's going to be the stuff that's had the newest sprues. Things like ogres, things like halflings, that kind of stuff. Luke saying, yeah, love the Fozcast. Yeah, Tony says football. My attention drifts as I can't relate. Yes, they're on, obviously there was a link to it. Honestly, I promise. Clyde says, be careful. People are quite willing to spend on silly things. I tell you what, mate. If it keeps a roof over my head, mate, I appreciate what we've got a bit of a kind of like people are a bit short of money these days, and that doing the job that I do, which relies upon support. It obviously takes a hit when people have less money. So I completely understand that. I'm not suggesting anybody ever spend kind of more than they can afford. I would hate for that to be the case. But if it brings a little bit of joy to somebody who can afford it, I'm all up for it. Not the wheel of morality. I have no morals, mate. I'm moral free. Lou Pigeon says $5 now. Drink the paint water. You know what? it could be that kind of stuff. Luke says I do love a skelly bob. Yeah, I do like a skeleton as well, mate. Ed says Fighting Fantasy Wednesday instead. Ooh, you know what? Let me think about that actually, because I'm conscious that it's kind of Mantic heavy at the minute. This is not a Mantic specific channel kind of thing, but because I've recorded a load of stuff and I've got a load of stuff going on, that might not be a bad idea, mate. It'll just break it up a little bit actually, and allow me to even just push some of those videos back a little bit as well. George has got a couple of Kings of War ambush games at Kings of War ambush yesterday. Nice one. Tony says I can't update YouTube with my new credit card details, so I'm scuppered. I've tried helping many times but can't suss how to update my card details. I don't really understand how that happens, mate, to be fair. Oh yeah, Christian saying yeah, something to do with your payment details in your Google account. Andy Smith saying Fighting Fantasy it is. We'll see, mate, we'll see. Yeah, Christian just sharing the link there as well for t-shirts and hoodies. Why not treat yourself for Christmas? Treat your other half. I'm sure your other half would love a BlackJack Legacy hoodie for Christmas. Greg says I'm afraid Ambush just sounds like Legion Skirmish. Same game, just less points and units. That's not inspiring for me. It is less kind of points, and it's typically less models. But the difference is when you're playing Kings of War, like that's quite a lot of models to build and paint, or to not paint for that matter, to get to like 2,500 points. That's quite a commitment. If it means that this is enough to sort of bridge the gap and allow people to get in and give it a try and then build on from that starting point once they've kind of they started their army, their heart in it at that point, I don't see it as a bad thing. Carl saying I'm so Warpath focused that seeing Firefight videos would be awesome. Yeah, there's definitely another one coming this week anyway, mate. Like I say, Ronnie's been telling me about the future of Firefight, what they've got, sort of what they see the future of Firefight, where they see the next steps going to be. Bear in mind they've got 7 armies, all those armies models are out. Like what do you do next, kind of thing. So yeah, when he told me about it, it was really interesting. I'm quite excited about it. So that's what might be Friday's video, or it might be Thursday's video. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to have a drink, and then I think we might as well talk about the main topic. So, excuse me. Right, let me get James L. Good evening, James. He says Kings of War is knocking out the park at the moment. Mini army boxes are welcome, rounding out numbers, adding allies. Curious about what's next with Firefight. It's going to be interesting, mate, shall we say. And Jess says it's cool seeing you a bit fired up about all this. Honestly, mate, sometimes that fug, as you say, does just come down, and it's really hard to break out of it. I've said this a few times before. Like working on my own can be quite isolating for that kind of stuff. You don't have anybody kind of like sitting like next to you going, oh, did you see that cool thing? Or do you fancy playing a game? Or did you see that thing last night on TV? It really kind of made me think about this army. Like there's nobody like inspiring you that kind of way, or like giving you that nudge that when you go, oh nah, that's a terrible idea, and you go, nah, honestly I think it's great, I would do it, kind of thing. So when you work on your own and you get into that kind of a bit of like a kind of a Debbie Downer at times, it's really hard to kind of like to turn the tanker around and get out of it again. But yeah, I'm feeling a bit more fired up now, mate. I'm feeling a bit more fired up. But yes, we'll record this bit for the clips video for those folks that are not committed Monday folks, shall we say. Tonight, folks, I want to talk about Games Workshop and what I would suggest is their current sales method when it comes to releasing new models, new armies, which is these early release, these I think they've even called them of like pre-release or like early releases, which are these new boxes basically which have an alternative cover codex in. They have generally the new models that are coming out for that particular army, and they have some like data cards. They might even have some dice in, I'm not sure. And the newest one which is coming out is the new Astra Militarum, or as we would know, Imperial Guard, with the new style models that are in it. And the reason I want to talk about this is it cropped up in a conversation on Twitter over the weekend, which essentially, to paraphrase, said that I think that these are a bit of a slippery slope. I think they're a terrible practice. It's wrong having kind of being the only way you can buy the codex, the only way you can buy the new minis, sort of almost putting them behind a paywall, and it's a terrible practice and we shouldn't support it. And by not buying these boxes, essentially it's sending GW a bit of a message. And I read that, and then I read all of the people's replies and the comments and the answers after it and stuff like that. And there were some people supporting that initial comment, and there were some people obviously very much against that initial comment. And it made me think about like what did I think about it? Like, do I think they're a good thing? Do I think they're a bad thing? Does it really matter what I think? And for me, essentially, I don't really see them as a bad thing. I think I should kind of let me show you what they are, and then we can kind of like we'll talk about it from there. So this is basically the something that Warhammer community put up their article. I think this is on Sunday because it goes up for pre-order this week. And this is essentially what's inside the box. You don't get any dice. I got that bit wrong there, but you do. So you get look, I think that's the box with this Cadia stands across the front there. This is the alternative cover codex. You get some transfer sheets in there as well. You get these data cards, and then you basically get these models inside the box. And these, I believe, are all new sculpts for the Astra Militarum force. It says it's got 28 completely new miniatures. It includes 20 Cadian shock troops, a 5-man Cadian command squad, a sentinel with armoured and scout sentinel configurations, and 2 field ordnance teams. The vanguard of a revamped Astra Militarum range. So these are brand new for the first time in such a long time. Brand new minis. And then obviously these are the minis here. I won't go through them now, but I'm sure if I'll flick them while I'm talking. But if you want to take a look at them, look on the Warhammer community site, and you'll be able to see them. But this is the point that maybe is the point that people are talking about. The box includes an exclusive copy of the Codex Astra Militarum with a soft touch cover starring Lord Solar, Leontis, as well as 63 data cards. Blah blah blah. Absolutely everything contained within is currently only available in this set and won't be sold separately until next year. The army set has a 13-day pre-order window, and it'll hit the shelves on Black Friday. And it's that point there that I think was the point of the original message, where it says everything contained within is currently only available in this set and won't be sold separately until next year. And that's where people were kind of getting their knickers in a twist, shall we say, because basically if you want to buy the new Astra Militarum Codex, you have to buy this box. If you want the new models, you have to buy this box. And they were saying it's kind of a predatory practice, it's creating this fear of missing out, and that people shouldn't support it. And if this was true, if this was the only place you could buy them, then I probably would agree with the comments. However, it's not the only place you can buy them, because as it says in there, they're going to be available separately in the new year. January, I would probably hazard a guess, like about a month later. Very similar to what they did with the Leagues of Votann stuff recently. And essentially what they're doing is these are early release boxes. And for those that are really, really keen, who really want them, they can pre-order them. There's a 14-day or a 13-day pre-order window where they can order them. And if you don't want them now, or you don't want everything that's in there, or you're happy to wait, if you wait about a month, you'll be able to pick them up separately and just buy the bits and pieces you want. So if there was stuff in this box that was exclusive to this box and it would never be available anywhere else, I would probably agree with those comments. But I don't see this as necessarily that bad a deal or that big a problem. There'll be a bit of a saving from this box over buying them all separately, no doubt. And I get that they will be limited in numbers, but then that's what makes them exclusive. That's what makes them kind of like a bit different. If they weren't exclusive, if they were just up for sale, like the whole like forever kind of thing, then that exclusive codex or that, you know, that kind of limited edition codex cover ceases to become kind of anything of importance, if you like. And it doesn't really kind of like sort of, it doesn't really matter if they're only available for a period of time in this box and then they're available to buy later. At the end of the day, if you want to order them, I always find this is a bit of a weird thing. If you want to order them, you need to be ready at that 10 o'clock when the orders go live. You need to kind of get in and order them online, or you need to speak to your friendly local gaming store and like kind of let them know that you're interested and assume that they're getting enough orders in, which they generally know before pre-orders go live. And I just feel that like I don't know whether I'm kind of mellowing in my old age a little bit here, and I'm not a GW kind of like apologist. I'm not really even a GW supporter. I don't really play their games. I just feel that sometimes that there's a bit of a wind in the air, if you like, where people just want to pile on GW for every little thing. Do they do some stuff that I don't agree with? 100%. But is this one of them? I don't really think it is. And I kind of looked at it and thought, like, is this really as bad as some people are making it out to be? I'm not really sure what it is. I'm not sure what's predatory about it. Does it create a bit of a fear of missing out? Well, I guess it does a bit, but you're not really missing out if you want this stuff down the line. It will be available kind of to pick up later. Like, do we see this in other things? Like, absolutely. If you want to buy a ticket to go to see a concert, like a music festival or something like that, there are a limited amount of tickets, and you have to be there and get in there and buy your ticket if you want to attend. Like, people don't complain about sort of Glastonbury Festival and say, oh, well, there's loads of people who wanted to go. You should put it on for extra days for the people that couldn't attend the first one. Like, there are other examples of this in life where sometimes you know, if you really want something, you've got to make the effort to kind of get in and get there. However, in this instance, if you miss out on that, like, kind of fancy box that'll probably just sit on a shelf, you'll still be able to kind of pick up the stuff afterwards. GW have even said themselves that it's not recommended for kind of matched player whilst there is just this pre-release out, because essentially the only way you can field at like a 2,000 point army generally is by buying multiple boxes of these things. Granted, people will be able to use their old Astra Militarum stuff as well, but that codex will be out, you know, very soon afterwards for general release. And there are a lot of tournaments, especially the bigger tournaments, have basically said that you can't even use a new army until it's had its first FAQ, just to stop some of these kind of broken lists and stuff getting out there into the wild. So to kind of round it off and to kind of hand it back to you and ask you what you think, is this really that bad? I mean, that's what the kind of thumbnail said. Like, is it really that bad? Take the price aside. We're not really talking about the price. Take the model content aside. We're not really talking about the models. It's either something that you can afford and you think it's good value, or you don't really like it and you think it's too expensive. Take all that stuff to one side. The thing I'm trying to kind of get my head around is, are people justified in getting themselves a bit worked up and annoyed about the fact that this box comes out early, maybe a month early, and that's where you can, if that's what you're looking forward to, that's the first place you can buy it. And if you miss out, you're going to have to wait a month and then pick it up a bit later. Is that really that bad in the grand scheme of things? Surely there's more important things in life to get worried about than waiting for a month for your book. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think I'm being naive about this? Am I missing a really glaringly obvious point that would make me go, all right, now I understand, kind of thing? Let me know what you think. I'd love to know down in the comments. So, folks, let's go back to here and let's see what you all think about it. Because I honestly, when I read it, like, I tend not to get into these kind of like Twitter arguments and stuff like that, because I just think, you know, like, it's not my it's not my fight. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't play 40k kind of thing. But this one, there was something about the kind of the conversation and people's comments just made me think like it feels like a bit of a drama brewing over nothing a little bit. James L saying everything looks terrible until the touch-up stage is right. Right, mate. When I'm painting, it goes from looking pretty cool, then I put paint on it, and it goes downhill gradually, and then it gets to a point where it starts to come back up the other side again. I go, oh yeah, you've got to keep going. You've got to keep going. That's right, mate. Jez says, well, they've dragged me back down to Bristol this week, but after that, I'm about if you want some nerdy chat and pints or coffee, dude. Or a game, come to think of it. Let's definitely sort something out, mate. It'd be nice to meet up face to face, mate. Especially bearing in mind that you're on my doorstep. Spiderlord says, oh, there are actual conversations on Twitter. Do you know what? I'll be honest. I'm kind of almost on the cusp of just coming off it, if I'm honest. For no other reason than, like, even the hobby side of things. Like, I've really curated I've really curated my like list of like people I follow in on Twitter. Like, it's generally hobby people, and it's just people posting miniatures or talking about the hobby, or like generally just like fun. I try to take like kind of like like anything that says Elon Musk, I've kind of deleted that out of there because that's just getting out of hand now. Like all that kind of stuff, I've really kind of filtered it back. But I feel like lately, like there's more and more just like hobby drama, and I don't know whether it's kind of like, is it people creating drama so that they've got something to talk about? Is it like, is there really kind of drama out there or stuff? Like, I just feel like at the minute, I feel like there's a lot of negativity about, and I don't know what it is. I feel like that part of that was what was kind of sending me down that kind of route of like not enjoying my hobby very much at the minute. Obviously, I'm coming out the other side of that now, and I'm feeling a bit more kind of fired up and things. But I think that's why it's making me think: do I just bin Twitter off really? Because I feel like there's just a massive like negativity about it. There's the every now and again there's that like kind of like nugget of like humor that just makes me cry while laughing, but they're few and far between these days. Yeah, Jess is saying, yeah, you hit the ugly point, break on through. Exactly, mate. Let's have a little look here. Coffee and Pistachio saying, I like the boxes they offer. The contents are nice for those who want them, and they don't stop people using what they already have. Yeah. James is saying, GW are putting lumps of coal in all Christmas releases. Screen cap this. Mighty Dice says, I've been collecting Guard on and off since 3rd edition. Love the new tank and heavy support, but wish they'd choose something other than Cadian. I think there's a bit of that, mate, as well. There were some people seemed a little bit bitter about the fact that Cadia fell, and apparently it's back again. I'm not that up on the lore and the background and stuff like that, but yeah, it does seem a strange choice. Big Dave, hello mate, how you doing? He says, what did I miss? If I repeat it all, mate, that will take me another hour and where are we? An hour and 2 minutes. So we'll crack on, and I hope you can kind of keep up with it, mate. Colin says the pre-order boxes prey on people's predilections for gambling. That is my issue. Having a family member with gambling issues worries me. I've written to my MO, but sadly, I don't see how this is anything to do with gambling, mate. Being like kind of honest and like personally about it, it's not a gamble in terms of you don't know what you're going to get inside the box. It's not a gamble as in terms of you either get it now or you'll never get it again kind of thing. Will you save a little bit of money? Probably a little bit, but then by the time you start factoring in sort of discounts and everything else, and maybe only buying the stuff that you want, like if there's a couple of models in that box that you don't really want anywhere, are you really saving anything at that point? If you don't put any value in the data cards, are you really saving any money? So for me, I personally don't correlate the two, like the two things of gambling and Games Workshop boxes. If there were Magic the Gathering, I wouldn't disagree with you. I think there's an element of keep buying them and keep opening blind packs. I maybe wouldn't disagree. Spylord says, I guess it gives the buyer a slight tactical advantage, but these things leak and are readily available elsewhere. Yeah, there is that. But does it really give them a tactical advantage? I mean, if you watch sort of Ash Barker on Guerrilla Miniature Games, he gets the Codex a week early. He pretty much reads it on camera. It's almost out there for everybody to see anyway at that point. Like the point stuff will be in the apps and all that kind of bits and pieces for building lists as soon as the Codex is out. And as you say, they quite often leak anyway. So I really don't like see it as like a real tactical advantage, especially if there's new units coming out that are not available anyway. So, Colin's saying, yeah, it's marketing as a whole. Yeah, I guess there's that kind of stuff. Ed says, seeing the concert versus buying the live album is a great analogy. I guess it's like, in this instance, I'm not sure it is a great analogy, but because it's kind of like you're still getting the thing that if you wait a month, you can still have the thing that you wanted. It's a bit like Sony PlayStation 5 comes out, right, when they had all the shortages and stuff, and there's 100 PlayStation 5s are released in your local area, and everybody's chomping at a bit to try and get one, and not everybody can have one. However, in a couple of weeks' time, there'll be another delivery of more, and you will get the chance to kind of pick it up again. There are some people who will try and sell that for more money and try and scalp it, and there will be some people who will be happy to pay it. But the truth of the matter is that there's more stuff coming along in the background, kind of thing, and it's not like a poor imitation of the original one in terms of seeing the live concert versus listening to the live album. This is exactly the same thing. It's just later. Where was that one? Anna Robinson, good evening, Anna. How are you doing? Nice to see you in. Jess is saying people just need a bit of patience. It's a few months. You've probably got shit to paint now. The worst part of that is, mate, and I 100% agree with you on this one. The worst bit is there are people who will absolutely chomp at the bit to buy this the day of release, and they will start building it, and they will get about halfway through building that box, and then it'll go on the shelf because something else will take their kind of their fancy, and they'll see something else, or they will get distracted by a different project, or they'll be in the middle of a project and they'll go, oh, that box has to wait for now, I'll get to it like in a month's time or something. Some people get so wound up about it and then do nothing with the product. I do find it like quite funny that some people do that, like, and get a bit animated about it. Luke says, I really don't see an issue with these boxes. If they were only 500 and scalpers were free to run amok, then I'd have issues, but I don't see the problem. Yeah, this is the thing. It's not like there are models, excuse me, it's not like there are models in this box that have rules in the book that are never going to be available anywhere else unless you buy this box, for example. That has happened in the past, and I'm not a fan of that at all. There were some kind of like boxes that came out with limited models in, and it was the only place you could ever buy them. And what that does is it just drives up the second-hand price of them. But it just feels like, honestly, like I say it, like it feels like there's something in the air at the minute. Like more and more, like people have always been. There have been the real extremes of the anti-GW people, and there's the real extremes of the really pro-GW people. And then somewhere in the middle has been everybody else. But it feels at the minute like there's just a bit of like, it doesn't matter what they do, there are some really vocal people who just kind of want to shit on everything, regardless of whether it's right or wrong. And like I said in the main chat there are some things that they do that I really don't agree with, but there are other things that they do that I just think, well, if it was my business, I'd probably do the same. Like, do I want to spend money on that kind of stuff? I don't want to spend that kind of money. Do I personally think it's expensive, or do I personally think it's good value? Not for me personally, but that doesn't mean it isn't for someone else. But there are some decisions they make where I think, well, yeah, if I was a multi-million-dollar business, I'd probably do the same. I'd probably make the same business the business decision kind of thing. So can you blame a business for being a business? Like, I guess there comes a point where you become like very anti-capitalist, and that kind of stuff maybe rubs you up a bit more the wrong way. I think for me, I don't really buy the stuff, so I guess that's why I kind of maybe am a bit calmer about it. But This one it was starting to kind of rumble away, and it had the potential to kind of blow up into something else. And I was just thinking, is it really a problem? Like, am I missing something? Mighty Dice says, I think the only issue is when the miniatures are limited. Yeah, as you were saying, mate. Yeah. Tony says, I think empty head, no view. That's all right, mate. Mighty Dice says, in the sense that if there is rules for said miniatures. Yes, exactly what I've just said, mate. Spider-Lord says, the Astra Militarum one is definitely limited edition. It's only limited edition in terms of that box set has a limited run. But then once it's kind of sold out and it's gone and you can't buy it anymore, the stuff that's in the box will then be able to you can then just go and buy it anyway. It's like saying we've got these limited edition Big Mac meals with a burger and fries and a drink. And when they're gone kind of thing, and you go, oh well, I'd really fancy one of those, but if I don't get it now, it'll be gone kind of thing. And then they go, right, none left, they're all sold out. But you can buy a Big Mac here, and then you can order some fries if you want, and over there we can order you a Coke kind of thing. All the stuff that separately is available to buy later. And yes, it might be slightly more expensive. In fact, it will be slightly more expensive. But as I said before, you might not want everything that's in that box. I think sometimes people just get the idea of like, I've got to have it, like it's the new thing. I just have to have it, and then they start like sort of almost getting angry about the fact that I have to have it, but I might not be able to have it because there might not be enough to go around, and they instantly like jump to the conclusion of I've missed out before the thing's even been like available to buy in the first place, or they were never going to buy it anywhere, but they don't like the idea that if they wanted it, they might miss out, and then that becomes their argument. I find it strange at times. Sora Kiss says, on the Twitter note, I think it's the most dystopian way of communication ever. It definitely feels a bit of Wild West at the minute, that's for sure, Sora. Clyde says, I like how I have a Facebook set up. It's 90% miniatures now and 10% memes. Kind of like mine, mate. I only really follow like miniatures pages, like games companies and stuff like that. I don't really have much else on there. George says, it's a box and a cover exclusive from what you say. Yeah, kind of, mate. Yeah, that's it. You're basically paying for a fancy box to put them all in, really. RPD says, all I'm on Facebook for is miniature gaming and the car club. Yeah, pretty much my stuff as well, mate. I've never really understood Twitter, if I'm perfectly honest. I don't really kind of interact. I read stuff and things, but I don't really I always feel like I'm just barging into somebody else's kind of argument. So what's the point in getting, like, you wouldn't do that if I'm sitting in a pub and I can hear two people arguing. I don't go and sit beside them and go, yeah, and I tell you what I think. So I don't do it on Twitter, but maybe that's why I don't understand it. The Warp Forge says there's a lot of drama on Twitter. You take a step away from that and everything gets better. Twitter is a breeding ground for mean girls, cliques, and Elliot personalities. There's definitely a bit of a clicky atmosphere on Twitter. I would completely agree with that. If you're not in with the right gang, like, you're not in, kind of thing. Andrew Fairbanks says, remember talking with the GW rep pre-COVID? These boxes were how they were going to go, and honestly, they need either a $30 reduction or a US price adjustment or another 100 points of models. The thing is, mate, like, and this is what I was saying before, they sell. Like, it's like, do I disagree with you? No, probably not. Do I think they should be cheaper? Do I think you should get more content in them? Absolutely. But as long as they sell, there are people who don't think like me and you, who think they are good value, who think they're worth the money, and they are more than happy to buy them. And that's just consumerism in a nutshell, really, isn't it? As long as somebody wants to buy it, then that'll be the price. The point when nobody wants to buy it, then that's when the price comes down, kind of thing. It's kind of supply and demand, isn't it? So whilst I don't disagree with you, I don't think it'll ever happen. Wolfport says the box sets look fun. Mighty Dice says, you can't give up on Twitter. You're the only one who shares my posts. We'll start a revolution that way, mate. It's the only way you can do it. Andy Smith saying he's just started with Silver Bayonet. How are you finding it, mate? What do you think? Skullduggery says, I'm always conflicted regarding social media. On one hand, I want to share my painted minis, and it's nice to have somewhere to post them. On the other hand, it's social media. I'm a big fan of social media. I think it can be a cause for good. I think if it wasn't for social media, I wouldn't be doing the job I do today. I wouldn't kind of speak to most of you lot. I wouldn't kind of made some of the friends that I've made over the years. I wouldn't have had some kind of some interesting conversations. I just also think that at the same time, there is and as I say, I've generally curated my feeds and stuff. Like Facebook, I don't get any drama on Facebook. I don't get any kind of sort of any homophobic stuff or racist stuff or kind of political type stuff that I'm not interested in. I've managed to kind of weed that out. And Twitter, to be fair, was kind of in a similar place for me as well. I was generally just flicking through Twitter, reading funny comments from people I knew, seeing people's cool painted minis, little work in progress pictures and stuff like that. But it feels, the problem is, it feels like the people that I followed to see cool pictures are all starting to get turn to the dark side a bit. It feels like they're all getting dragged into the internet drama now, and that's what I think's happening. It almost feels like I'm gonna have to start binning off the people that I used to follow. Jess says, "Cool, I'll zap you, fella. Email or messenger on here." Why don't can we do it through Facebook Messenger or something like that, mate? Or feel free to email us, mate, and we'll find the best way to do it. Kodos is saying, still avoid Facebook and Twitter, even if it would be good for the hobby and get connected to others. Just don't want to get the drama as a side effect. Yeah, I agree. Warpforge says, Cadia isn't back, it's just Cadians have been re-released. There you go. Starting with Middle Earth as well, Andy, my God. Louis Duke says Discord has done some interesting work laying out the details on how the tactics of FOMO prey on neurodivergent individuals. Whilst I wouldn't disagree with that, it is not limited to Games Workshop. They are not the only company. So that whether that's Apple with the new iPhone when it comes out, whether it's Nintendo with the new Switch when it comes out, if it's PlayStation, Sony PlayStation with a new PlayStation coming out, whether it is Nike with the latest new drop of Jordans, whether it is tickets for a concert, whether it's tickets for a popular football match, that's just how things are in life. And whilst I agree with you, for certain sort of parts of society. There are people where this is not a good tactic. Kind of whinging about Games Workshop isn't going to change the world so much. We need to it's not going to change consumerism. And I get at the end of the day, they're plastic soldiers. It's a difficult one to talk about because I don't know enough about the neurodiversity stuff to really kind of to have a hard opinion on whether it's evil or whether it's not, kind of thing. But at the end of the day, my point being is it's not just Games Workshop. You know what I mean? It's kind of everybody. Do stores do things like 2-for-1s? Do they do buy one get one free kind of thing where to try and force people into buying more than they need and all that? It is everywhere. It's kind of, we're surrounded by it. Tony says, I hide in places like BlackJack Legacy Discord, my friendly little gaming store Discord, and the Paint and Face Discord. Keep my head low and find these Discords the most positive and inclusive. None of the drama conversations. Yeah, to be fair, we don't even really talk about the drama in our group, do we? That's why I wouldn't necessarily make a video about it, because I feel it just feeds into the negativity. And yes, it gets clicks and is there a part of me deep down that wishes kind of my videos did better? Absolutely. I'm just as vain as everybody else when it comes to that stuff. But not if it's at the expense of just feeding into drama all the time and because what comes when you do a video about that is you get the negativity that gets kind of thrust back at you as well. And I'm sure this one will probably be no different, to be honest. I mean, this one isn't even about drama, but I'm sure I'll get plenty of people who tell me I'm completely wrong. That's part and parcel of being on the internet, I guess. Let's have a little look here. Where are we up to? before that jumped ahead. There we are there. Andy Smith said he's getting his mojo back. Glad to hear it, mate. Glad to hear it. Andrew Fairbanks says, yeah, it's not gambling preying, it preys on impulse buyers. Yeah, it does prey on impulse buyers, and fear of missing out has always done that. But this is my point about this. There doesn't need to be any FOMO in this. It's fake FOMO. Like, people who are frightened of missing out on getting these models are creating that FOMO for themselves because they're coming out. Like, they'll be here in a month kind of thing. John says, I'm not sure if I get FOMO for the Goth Rocker. That will only be this Christmas. I think it's a cool model, man. I kind of like it, but like my life doesn't stop if I didn't, like, if I really wanted one, I didn't get one, the world doesn't come to a stop kind of thing. The Warp Forge is, I only keep the projects I'm making. I haven't gotten into heresy despite wanting to, only so I can finish my 40k projects. Night Lords being the primary one as well. Nice. Peter says the models are available afterwards. I really don't see a problem. Just wait it out if you don't buy immediately. Yeah, that's kind of like what I was thinking, mate. Warp Forge is saying Twitter exaggerates a lot from a vocal minority. My stance on having discussions on Twitter is this: can I make my point in 250 characters? No, I don't engage. What I say on Twitter though is people seemed to want to jump to very extreme opinions, and basically tell everybody else that they're wrong. Like other people who I know personally, who I've had conversations with in the flesh, who are not like that, will still be on Twitter kind of like sort of old man shakes his fist at the cloud kind of thing. I see the spam bots are back again as well. It's funny actually. I saw that there's a few of the YouTube folks, people like Pete the Wargamer and Kirioth and stuff, were saying like I've put quite a lot of different filters in to stop them, and they're getting quite creative to get around them and stuff. So yeah, it's hard work. Colin saying socialist here, so pretty anti-capitalist. You can be anti-capitalist, mate. Of course you can, but like, it's not. I wouldn't say it doesn't change anything, because of course, if everybody did something about it, of course things have to change. But like that's kind of. I think it will be difficult to run a successful business and be socialist, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? In today's modern world. Double Dip says, with GW's recent history, Indomitus and Curse City spring to mind. I think some people are just on a downer with GW, and therefore pessimism sets in. I think you're right. I think pessimism does set in, but at the end of the day, like, just disengage with it. Don't get involved. Like, I feel like some people are looking for something to complain about sometimes. Damn it, I'm hungry now, Mackie D's. Jez, I'm pretty anti-capitalist, but this does sound a bit like privileged whinging. That's kind of, yeah, I think we're probably on a similar wavelength there, mate. Like, I've certainly found myself over time become like sort of less capitalist driven, if you like. Moving away from working for a big company and kind of having my own small business, if you like, and then seeing things like the world we live in now, where you see, you know, Shell and BP and stuff with like massive profits while we're having to pay through the nose for energy and stuff. I've definitely moved away from kind of like sort of more over to a socialist leaning, if you like, but I still know how business works, and like not every company is absolutely creaming it in and stuff like that. I don't know. It's not one for these streams anyway. Warpforge says, I get God players wanting their army book after waiting 3 years for their codex. I feel that's where the main issue collides. It's a month, mate. It's not 6 months. It's not 12 months. It's a month. Like, and let's be honest, they'll have all downloaded a PDF copy of it anyway before they buy one. Like, I just feel that's just. It's kind of getting angry about something for the sake of getting angry. Like, can you not wait a month? Matt, hello Matt, he says, love that pub analogy. It is kind of exactly what it is. Like, that's exactly how I see Twitter. Like, hearing a couple arguing over there. It's like me scrolling through and seeing some kind of drama going on and then just kind of wading in on it. Double Dip says, maybe people are extra wary of the new boxes because of the Votan kerfuffle. But I don't think they're wary of them, though. I mean, it doesn't change anything. The Votan thing was basically an under-tested codex, if you like. That could very much still happen with the with the Astra Militarum as well. Like, it doesn't really matter about whether it's a box or it's a day one release for everybody. It'd still have that same problem, couldn't it? Coffee and Pistachio says, I'm off. Cheers for the stream. Take care, buddy. Thank you. Jez says, I was only on Twitter for 6 months before I got completely banned. I wasn't very good on that game. Clyde saying, it's so relaxing when you tailor your social media feed to just the hobby stuff. I agree, mate, it does. Thank you, Christian. He's sharing the link there to the Amazon affiliate link. If you're shopping, especially around Black Friday, we're talking about capitalism now. If you're going shopping at Amazon, but coming up to Black Friday and of course coming up to Christmas and stuff, if you do choose to shop on Amazon, if you shop through my affiliate link, it doesn't cost you any more, but it really does help me out. Thank you very much. Sora saying, thanks for the stream and the chat, everyone. Have a great night. You too. Thank you very much for coming in. Zingbo says, GW Amelia player, hate the game, not the player. There's an element of that, mate, and I know it's kind of like, it's almost because you can't just turn a blind eye, sort of. You can't turn a blind eye to everything, kind of thing. But there is an element of like vote with your wallet kind of thing. There's an element of that, and the same people complaining about it very often are the same people who then just go and buy them as well, and that's kind of a weird thing. George is saying, battering down the hatches now. Cheers, Andy. Take care, buddy. Thanks very much. Mighty Dicey is going to have to call it a night as well. Take care, fella. Thank you very much. Matt's off to bed as well. Andy says, never been on Twitter. That would explain why he's such a happy fella, mate. Ed says, extreme opinions drive engagement. They do, mate, and unfortunately that's the world that we've kind of that's the world we fell into. Like, it's also like one of the reasons why I won't really go down that route of like I could have done tonight's video about the Spiky bits drama kind of thing and like leaned into that and had my, like, you know, made a big deal out of that. Or I could talk about like, oh, the prices are disgraceful, the new Christmas boxes have come out and there's for GW and there's no Xenos or Xenos factions in it. Like, I could get all animated and rant and shout about that kind of stuff, but that doesn't help anybody. Like, it doesn't help you in your hobby. It doesn't make you feel any happier. It doesn't help you paint. It doesn't kind of sort of fill you with like warm feelings and getting excited about something new that's coming out, or filling you full of kind of like new information about a game you might not know about. Like, I tend to lean more into the smiley bits. I think that's the best way. Double Dip says, capitalism has its downside, but it's still better than communism. I couldn't get my words out there. Social media promotes competitive misery. I tell you what, competitive misery is the right term as well, mate. Yeah, Louis says, you agree. Poor word on my part. Point is, for some individuals, the FOMO marketing tactics hit really hard. Yeah, and I wouldn't disagree with that, mate, to be fair. In RPD saying people getting angry over a month, really. Yeah, it pretty much, mate, yeah. And Louis said, I hide here too, folks. Always nice and refreshing to find a positive community for a change. Yeah, I think this is a relatively positive community. I mean, we all have our ups and down days, but yeah, that's it. Andrew said, I find anti-capitalism usually advocate for hyper-capitalist opinions. Do you know what it is? I'm not even going to pretend like I'm that knowledgeable about that. I've essentially worked for a big business with shareholders, and I understand how it works, and I understand what your aims are, and I understand as a business what you're trying to do. But I also kind of grew up in a very, very working class family where my dad was a coal miner and he went on strike, like kind of like under a conservative government, and so I've seen things from both ends, and I guess I kind of fall somewhere in the middle generally. Kodas is saying, late for him too. Good night, take care, mate. Marshall G says, stay positive, bro. The world has enough negativity. You are not wrong, mate. I know that negativity sells. that and sex, but I'm not selling that either. But I know negativity is like basically like there are so many channels who will basically drive down that like I'm very animated. I have lots of negative things to say because I know it will drive opinion, and I honestly believe that like I would quit doing this after about 6 months if I basically went after clicks just on negativity, because I think for my own mental health it would just drive me into the ground. I hated the whole COVID stuff and being like locked in the house and basically seeing all the kind of doom and gloom on the news. It was it felt like a dark cloud and a heavy weight on my shoulders. I hated it. I would hate to think I was creating that negativity and animosity of people just telling me how shit I am basically in the comments, and like basically just wanting to argue with me, even though it was driving views and it was driving money, and it was like, and I'd financially be better off, but mentally I'd be having a breakdown. I don't think I could really I couldn't do that for myself. RPD saying, I do love this community. We all love you too, RPD. Clyde Dashin says, lately I've been shifting to all skirmish games since the little one is eating free time, so the news out of Mantic is refreshing. Excuse me while I have a quick drink, my throat's a bit dry there. It's kind of funny, isn't it? My little boy today, we were walking to school this morning and he decided he wanted to create a game. So it's about like I would say it's about a 25-minute walk to school. So we had a right old like little chat about like, so what's your game going to be about? What are you going to call it and stuff? And he came up with some like super cool ideas. Like he decided he was gonna make a game, like a miniatures game, and I said we could look in the garage and we can see what miniatures we've got, and you can choose the miniatures you want to go in your game. And he decided he was going to make a game called Horror Days, or Jackson's Horror Days instead of Holidays, and basically each like different scenario was going to be a different like holiday time of the year. So there'd be like it'd be a Halloween one, there'd be a Christmas one, there'd be an Easter one, that kind of stuff. But there'd be like there'd be bad guys, so there might be like a bad Santa chasing you, or there might be like a trick-or-treaters might be chasing you, or they might be an evil Easter bunny kind of thing. And like he was coming up with some super creative ideas, and there's some stuff on the floor there because we were sitting while I was setting up in here tonight. He was sitting drawing he was writing these instructions out and stuff like that, and he was he's got so much like kind of sort of like creativity. We're gonna try and do some over the week and that on a night time and stuff after school, try and kind of like progress it through a little bit. But like you're saying there about like sort of Mantic and playing with the kids and stuff like that, like if I can find games to play with my little lad when it comes to board games or miniatures games or anything like that, like what better way to kind of spend time together? We're both doing something we love. It's one thing when he's like playing sort of. He plays a game called Friday Night Funkin', which is a little bit like Dance Dance Revolution type thing for those that know it, and the music absolutely drives me insane. It's like a car alarm going off, but he loves it, so I kind of cut him some slack. But it's not something we would do it together kind of thing. It's something like I'm constantly going, you just turn that down a little bit kind of thing. Where this morning walking to school talking about this game, and then sitting tonight and sitting drawing his stuff out and doing them together, it's been really cool. Let's have a look. Andy Smith here saying, people forget we're playing with toy soldiers. You're not wrong, mate. You're not wrong. Mark Watson says, I prefer the old school drama, Imperial or metric, D6 or D10s, or the big one, square or round bases. I remember like the drama years ago used like when I was first getting into this hobby was like it wasn't about any of that stuff. It wasn't about balance. It wasn't about like sort of what was broken or anything. It was It was more about like, to be fair, I think it was probably stuff like people not liking certain models. I don't like that new model kind of thing. That was about it. Nonja says no BlackJack only fans. Not until I've lost a few pounds, mate, that's for sure. No, cheers for the positivity. You need more of that in the world. It gets lost though, mate. The problem is I can be as positive as I want, but it doesn't sell, and it doesn't engage. It doesn't basically like it doesn't open up like a world of people go, oh, there's a really positive place over there. We should go and play in that garden kind of thing. It basically just hides me from the crowds. That's the problem. Warp Forges, I feel the greatest shame is that these drama channels get more attention than genuine, passionate channels making their enjoyment in their hobby. Kind of like what I was just saying there, mate. Yeah. John says, that's what I like about this channel, positivity. If I wanted negativity, I'd watch mainstream media. Tabletop Minions has the same ethos, which is why I always make Adam's live streams. Positive waves, baby. Yeah, I just think it's life's too short, mate, isn't it? James says, that's great. Andrew says, Jackson should read Batman The Long Halloween. I don't think he's quite ready for that yet, mate. I do have that graphic novel, actually. Where were we up to there? Damn, these just not jump around sometimes. James is saying kids are so creative. Yeah, I don't know where it come from. It's not like we've been chatting about and stuff. I guess it's kind of the back end of coming out of Halloween and stuff like that, and then coming up to Christmas. He's just kind of thinking about it. Jess says, this sounds great, like War in Christmas Village. I've not heard of that, mate. Jess says, the Mantic parent and kid dungeon crawler sounds great. It's right up my street, mate. Like, that'll be something that I'll be picking up for me and the boy kind of thing, for definite. We might even, to be honest, I mean, I've got no idea when it's going to kind of become a thing, but it's something we might even do like a review of together. Like the two of us will play it together and then really put it to the test. Like, is it really something that you can kind of play with your kids, or is it just like a nice idea kind of thing? Tizzy Brain says, that's very awesome that your son is creating his own game. Yeah, where it'll get to, I have no idea, but I mean, it's just that the creative process is quite cool. Bren B, hello, says GW has polarized opinions for 20 to 30 years. I've been far happier with gaming since I dropped the big GW games in favor of alternatives. I think it's just like, it's funny, like I remember kind of people complaining about GW years ago, especially kind of around the era of obviously the end of the old world and stuff like that, like Warhammer Fantasy, which I do completely get. That's something a bit different. It's something outside of the norm. It was a massive change. But the complaints I remember from years ago were like, oh, my army hasn't had a new codex for 3 years or for 5 years or something. Or like we haven't had any new models for this army forever kind of thing. It was more about people wanted more. That was the complaint back then. These days it just seems like it's a constant stream of just I wonder whether they just like, whether they're even aware of half of the stuff that goes on. Are they just like sitting there just going la 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 la, like just because I think it would send me to an early grave, I think. Clyde Dashing says, smart kid. He is a bit of a smart kid, to be fair. It was his 6th birthday, right at the end of September. So, but he's reading and he's writing and stuff. It's like just come on leaps and bounds over the summer. So he's yeah, right. I'm just like looking here. He got on the floor over there. He's been writing his instructions and stuff like that. It was cool. In fact, he won't thank me for this, but I will read out his instructions. His first instructions that he wrote. So this is what he's been. Let's have a bit of positivity. This is what he's been writing. So these are his instructions, and on the back, his instructions say, this game is 2-player. Get ready to have fun and explore Jackson's holidays and creep around the times. And then his instructions number 2 says, there is 1 die. The youngest goes first. Each holiday is a new mission. So he's been writing his little his instruction rules out. But I just like, honestly, it's just like so creative. I'm proud of him. Where are we up to here? Ed says, my first gaming drama was Citadel buying out Games Workshop. Is that what happened to me? I wasn't aware of that, if I'm perfectly honest. I knew Citadel and Games Workshop were kind of part of the same thing, but I didn't know which way the pendulum swung on that one. Andy says, don't forget when we started there wasn't the internet to WoW on. There was for me, mate. I didn't start gaming until much later, but it was like internet forums and stuff like that, like as opposed to like Twitter and Facebook and stuff. That wasn't a thing, to be fair. Thumbnails. I love that name, mate. It says, your positivity sold to me. I'm here for the calm and fun, and you always deliver, even when you're frustrated, which is way better than me. I can get frustrated. I'm human. I'm not immune from the drama and all that kind of stuff. And it does irritate me sometimes. But sometimes it irritates me because it's like, it's petty and it's stupid, and I can see like that it's not really worth it sometimes. Big Dave says, got to get up at stupid o'clock, so I'm going to bed. See you later, Big Dave. Nunja says, I'm on the Patreon for the positivity. You are, sir. Thank you very much. Thumbnail says, middle of the afternoon for me here in Alaska. Still want a nap though. To be fair, I think if I was in Alaska, I'd fancy a bit of a middle of the day nap as well, mate. Double Dip says, yeah, the Mantic Dungeon Crawler sounds good. I was a big Hero Quest fan as a youngster. I played a little bit of Hero Quest when I was younger, but lack of people to play with, I think, was my main issue. Me and my sister used to play it a bit, but she was much younger than me at the time, so I think it was probably more me playing it and her just telling her what to do kind of thing. But it didn't really capture me, like, so that I basically got into the hobby at that point and then never left. But I think this could be my little lad loves rolling dice. He loves board games. He loves playing with the miniatures and stuff like that. Like quite often Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, or something like that, we'll sometimes just like sit at the kitchen table. I'll get my Batman, what's it called, Gotham City Chronicles, get the board game out that I never play because it's far too complicated, and just get a load of the miniatures out, and we'll just sit at the dining room table and just kind of play with the miniatures and, you know, like roll some dice and stuff like that. Just not really playing the game, just spending an hour just kind of moving miniatures around, really. He loves it. Andrew says, let's start some real drama. Andy doesn't really like bacon. I did have sausage sandwich on Saturday, mind, which I must say was really nice. Bacon loves him though, so it's okay. James says, when you have Mantic North Star and 15mm and 6mm metal being so cheap in comparison, there's a 172. Just use dip. Do you know what it is? I mean, Mantic stuff is still cheap, but I would suggest like the rest of the hobby market has kind of caught up to GW when it comes to a lot of their pricing. There are some things that like GW is expensive in terms of you need a lot of their models to play the game, and their models are not very, very cheap. And then like Mantic will have really good value starter boxes, but then some of their resin stuff is quite expensive, and other companies like are not cheap when it comes to stuff. So I think it's the gap has kind of certainly shrunk over the years, but yeah, they probably still the leader when it comes to higher prices. Double says, Andy's playing hard to get. Dumfries Gamers TV, good evening, says, I think GW's superpower is they get people talking about them constantly. Sometimes it's good things, sometimes it's bad, but we're always talking about them. So I'll be completely honest, sometimes I will talk about them because if I'm struggling for a topic to talk about on a Monday night, I know for a fact that I'm better off putting a GW topic in there, because everybody has an opinion on it, rather than like saying, so there's this obscure company just released this new game that I've seen a few pictures online, nobody's ever heard of it, nobody wants to talk about it, nobody got an opinion on it. So of course, for my own kind of like sort of, I've got to keep the wheels turning kind of thing, sometimes I will kind of talk about GW stuff if it's something that like interests me or maybe has got me curious or something like that. But you're right. I talked about it in my video about when that GW's killing my channel kind of thing. The whole point of it is about how it's this kind of like, it's this vicious cycle of GW send a load of influencers their stuff. The influencers know that talking about GW gets them clicks. Talking about GW gets clicks and then dominates the YouTube algorithm, because YouTube then goes, oh, people like to talk about Warhammer stuff, so they basically send everybody the Warhammer videos. That makes everybody aware of Warhammer and not so aware of the other game systems that's out there, and then feeds people back into the like buying GW stuff. And it's if GW was your company, you would absolutely love it. And but the content creators rely on GW kind of sending them stuff. The content creators then rely on the fact that people watch GW stuff, so that's what gets them the clicks, and it's just this kind of ongoing circle. And a lot of them are big fans of GW stuff, and I'm not to say that they're not making sort of videos about stuff they don't love or anything like that, but it's almost like it's almost that kind of like the elephant in the room kind of thing. That is, if you want to do well on YouTube, like when it comes to tabletop gaming, like especially miniature stuff, you kind of need to talk about GW. Like I see it in cycles. I'll see things where like my channel might kind of have a little bit of decline or something like that because I haven't spoke about GW for a while, and then I throw one in there and it'll come back up, and then that gives me a couple of months of grace to talk about other games kind of thing. It feels dirty and it's horrible, but it's part of the game, I suppose. Clyde says youngest goes first, rigging the system. He kind of is, except he's got a younger cousin who is like about 2, and he said Ollie's the youngest, isn't he? And I went, yeah, he is. He went, oh, so Ollie would go first. So to be fair to him, he was thinking outside the box. Jez says game sounds awesome. Thumbnail says those instructions just made my day. Well, I'll just jump off my screen there. Double Dip says, I think GW was just a game shop and Citadel was a miniatures company. Yeah, Citadel definitely made the miniatures. Citadel paints. I just wasn't sure what the kind of relationship was. Oh, excuse me. Ed says GW was originally Jackson and Livingston. Yes, I remember that bit. They had a deal with the infamous Brian Ansell, I don't really know him, at Citadel that ended up with the latter acquiring GW and getting rid of the RPGs. I did not know that, mate. Super Pokemon says be kind and drop a like. Likes are very, very much appreciated, folks. Let's see how we're doing. We've had a chunk of folks in, and 72 likes. That's not too bad. If there's anybody that hasn't, give it a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. Where are we up to here? John Ashley Smith says I haven't rolled dice in anger in over 3 weeks. Getting withdrawal symptoms. Harvest is done though, so maybe this weekend. Fingers crossed for you, mate. Ed says the entire GW and White Dwarf staff told Brian Ansell to sod off. Oh, I remember somebody told me about this one actually, and I saw a picture of it a while ago. Totally changed the character of the company. Mark Berraclaw says YouTube has a new animation on the like button. Press it and see it. Yeah, has it? Go on, you do it. RPD says I do find FWW kind of expensive as it's all resin except a starter set. FWW. I don't know if I know what that is. FWW. Oh, somebody tell me what that is. Peter Cummins says he's moving out. Thanks for the stream. Take care, mate. Tyrion says, oh, it's all about minis. Nothing else. As a sculptor, it's all about the cash minis make. Anyone can make rules for mini gaming. I've been in this for 40 years. Oh, it is definitely about the minis. I mean, at the end of the day, rules were written to sell miniatures for a lot of companies, especially the big ones. Must contain minis is what a roller coaster having to talk about GW so you can have viewers come to watch about other games. It's a really weird situation and I don't like doing it. However, you almost get like kind of shadow ban's not the right phrase, but you're almost like on the quiet, just get hidden away from view. And it's one of the things I kind of ranted about in that video again, is about I'm quite happy with people not liking my content. That's absolutely fine. I don't really care. Well, I do to an extent. If somebody doesn't like my content, that's fine. Not everything is for everybody. I don't watch every piece of content and I don't like every piece of content. But not being able to get in front of them to give them the option to choose to watch or not watch is my frustration. And if you do not milk the GW cow every once in a while, the algorithm kind of forgets about you and just buries you away to the land where basically nobody ever sees you. And what you will see over time is if a video doesn't do very well, the next one doesn't get shared to many people. Therefore, it instantly doesn't do very well, which means the next one gets shared to less people, and you can start to go into a bit of a decline. And I've intentionally tried to do certain stuff to see how it works. And you throw in a GW video, and all of a sudden you get back up that mountain a bit, and it buys you a bit of time to talk about other stuff. And it's a horrible, horrible, shitty situation. But how I try to stick to my guns whilst not burying myself like through stubbornness is a fine tightrope to walk. That's for sure. Super Pumpkin Man says, while I'm not a GW fanboy, I just play their games, but I am glad that last month's painting challenge I used a Malifaux figure, not just a GW mini for my diorama. Nice one. Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Thank you very much, mate. What was it we were just talking about there? I do find Fallout Wasteland Warfare kind of expensive. Yes, I do find it quite expensive as well, mate. I've never really played the game, but I've kind of been conscious of the price of the minis and stuff like that. Yeah, Clyde's saying the Fallout, the Modifius ones hurt the wallet like GW. Mark says, I'm just committed to a 1,000 point 40k army to play in a family league, but secretly really, really want the new Kings of War stuff. That's it. You could just proxy Kings of War models, mate, for the 1,000 points. Double Dip says, to be fair, I found your channel with the GW's Killing My Channel video. I stayed because I like to chat about the other games and companies, and also those Monday streams. Yeah, it's one of those things, mate. I mean, it's like, I think it got a lot of traction because a lot of very pro GW people took it out of context a little bit. And I was like, obviously GW are not killing my channel. They're not sending round the lawyers to shut me down, kind of thing. The point I was making was essentially that the popularity of GW and its influence over both content creators who know that they have to cover their stuff in order to stay relevant and stay on the YouTube algorithm, and then also the fact that they can influence the YouTube algorithm by flooding the market with videos about their new products, because they send it out to all these content creators who know they have to make GW videos, can hide away other stuff. And of course, anybody can choose to do whatever, play whatever game you want, paint whatever miniatures you want. I just want people to have fun at the end of the day. But I would love it if people got the opportunity to at least make an informed decision about what other stuff's out there. That's all. Because there are people looking like for other stuff who never really get a chance to see it because YouTube doesn't recommend it to them. Like, for example, there's not a wargaming tab in YouTube. When you go through the sections and it's like sport, interviews, it like breaks it down into the stuff that you kind of watch. I noticed the other day again that basically like the tab isn't wargaming or miniatures gaming, it's Warhammer. And when you click into it, like there was an Infinity video in there, to be fair, but it was generally all Warhammer stuff. But they kind of tag wargaming as Warhammer. And if you don't feed the beast every once in a blue moon, yeah, you'll disappear up your own arse a little bit. Nonja says the GW or die trend extends to brick and mortar stores too, doesn't it? I heard somewhere that GW and Magic the Gathering are basically 60 to 70% of your average sales. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot to be said about that as well. Is that like, I'm not suggesting like stores should stick it to the man and only stock stuff that's like not GW. I don't want stores to go under. And at the end of the day, GW sells really well. Magic the Gathering sells really well as well. And of course, like, why would you not? Like, people buy stuff. Things are popular because people buy it. It's kind of a self-fulfilling thing. It's just a shame, that's all. It's not. It's like, it's just a shame that you. Sometimes you have to make the choice as opposed to letting people make the choice. Jez says, I don't think it's a GW cow, it's a bull, similar to milk, less of a payout. They enjoy it more and every release seems pretty salty. Many a true words spoken there, mate. Mark says, Empire of Dust, yeah, they look like Ultramarines. Hey, you could do that, mate. Let's have a little. Clyde says, nice. Don't forget to share the progress on the Facebook page. Keeps the hobby juices flowing. Yeah, do so, mate. Colin Max, I found this channel through Ronnie's videos. There you go, mate. Ronnie, Mr. Rent. I mean, there is an element of that. Like, for example, like my subscriber, my views have been fine recently, but my subscriber numbers have really kind of stalled lately. But the video with Ronnie kind of hasn't done fantastic numbers, but it has started to kick on the subscriber numbers again a little bit, and I kind of got a few subscribers from people who are obviously fans of Mantic stuff, maybe haven't had the chance to see my stuff before, and have kind of followed me from that. But sometimes it's just about mixing things up and just kind of, sometimes you got to poke the bear to set it off down the route again. None just says it's just a shame that one brand dominates so overwhelmingly like D&D does role playing. I guess it's a blessing and a curse. I mean, it's great that something has grown so big, because otherwise wargaming in general might not have grown so big. Like, it's not, I don't think any of the other companies are really in a position to have pushed on the way that GW has over the years. So, like, it's kind of a blessing, the fact that they've had the foresight to grow the company to the size it is. And to be fair, lots of other companies have grown up behind them, kind of sort of come along on their wave a little bit as well. So it's not like, it's not all bad. It's just, sometimes it just dominates, that's all. That's just kind of the way it is. Excuse me while I have a drink. So I was chatting about kind of things coming up. What have I got on the board at the minute? So I've got an interview with Ronnie about a Kickstarter that they've got coming up. I've got an interview with Ronnie about Firefight and the future of Firefight. Clyde saying he's drinking, quick, bring out the bacon. I've got the video about the ogres stuff. There is, I should just add as well, there is a 95% chance that there won't be a live stream next Monday. And the reason that there might not be a live stream is because I've been invited by another company to a secret location for a new release that they have coming out, like a press event type thing, like with some other channels, and that is happening next Monday evening. I'm kind of like 95% confirmed to be going, so there may not be there'll be a video in its place. Or I might even do some live video from the event, but yeah, so there might not be a live stream next week. So yeah, there's plenty of stuff that's coming up. I've got some kind of other bits and pieces as well that I'm working on in the background, and we've obviously got the hobby hangouts as well starting to come back as well when I can get into a bit of a schedule for those. So loads of stuff coming. Don't forget as well, there's more Firefight stuff coming, because we've got the end of the Firefight campaign at the end of this month as well. In early December, we've got the Firefight celebration day. I'm still waiting for Mantic to put the tickets up for sale, which is a bit of a stinger, but we'll sort that out this week, I think. So yeah, there's there's plenty happening. Super Pumpkin Man says, that is true. There are a few companies that came about simply to say, screw you, GW. I'm not even sure they did, really. I mean, I think there are some people who used to work for GW who basically learned their trade from working for the big guys, and then put that into practice in their own companies. I think Mark's just saying there as well. Hello, Mark. He's saying without GW there'd be no Mantic, no Warlord, no River Horse. There's a lot of companies, mate, that wouldn't be around if it wasn't for them. I mean, the thing is, like, GW give a lot of people their first job in the industry, and they learn their trade and then go on and do other things and go and work for other companies or start their own companies and stuff. And that's no bad thing. It feeds into the ecosystem, if you like. So you can't you can't say they're all bad. I mean, and at the end of the day, they're successful. If they made rubbish, if they made absolute garbage, if nobody bought their stuff, they wouldn't be successful, kind of thing. So, like, I'd never really badmouth them, like, in terms of, like, sort of as a business or as a company. I might not like every miniature they make. I might not like every game that they make, kind of thing. I might not I might not play their games, but I think the hobby is probably in a better place for having them than not having them, put it that way. Jess says, "Ooh, swanky." Yeah, it kind of come out the blue, mate. I got an email last week about it. I had a few questions about it just to double check some like sort of some bits of logistic type stuff and sort of coverage things. So, but yeah, so that'll be next Monday. If it, I got the itinerary through today by email. I can't talk about it yet, obviously, but telling me what was happening on the evening. So yeah, I think it's the kind of the way I'm looking at it. It's content, which is never a bad thing. It's something to talk about. It's something I'm interested in, which is never a bad thing. It's an opportunity to meet other content creators, which is never a bad thing. Do a bit of networking, and I think the game will be a lot of fun. So yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of to see if that comes off. So folks, we're coming up to 11 o'clock now. I think it's probably time to call it a night. So yes, so no hobby hangout this week. I'll let you know in plenty of notice if next Monday is happening or not. But at this point in time, I don't think it's going to happen. We might switch it to another night or something like that, or we might kind of definitely do the hobby hangout that week just to get a stream in that week as well. But there's plenty of videos coming up. I'm trying to kind of keep churning them out, keep the creative wheels turning. And I really do appreciate your support in be that watching it, or be it with your sort of your Patreon support, or with your super chats tonight as well, which never go amiss. You'd be really surprised how little you make in ad revenue from a video. Like I can do, this is one of the things that like it's funny, like people would say to me before about, oh, like you're doing live streams now, it's kind of killing your channel and stuff. Like through people's generosity, I can sometimes make more money from a Monday night live stream from a couple of donations than I would have ever done doing a video that like sort of that maybe got 10,000 views before, because the ad revenue is like so kind of low kind of thing. So people kind of miss that bit. Like I don't take for granted people's donations. It's really, really kind of you, and I do appreciate it. I don't take for granted the Patreons. And I'm just trying to get them creative juices going and kind of give people what they deserve for their support. So thank you very much, folks. Take care to one and all of you, and I will see you. I'll see you in the video anyway, but I'm not sure when the next live stream will be. So take care, folks.